and one of the co-chairs. And I'd like to welcome you to our first TZD Stakeholder Breakfast of 2017. I'd like to thank the Minnesota Safety Council for giving us space for this event. We really appreciate it. Today is on traffic safety in the workplace. Traffic-related injuries account for nearly 40% of lost work hours and have an annual cost of $47 billion to employers. The presentation today will share how to implement traffic safety programs in workplaces. And those who are joining us in person, we have a remote audience of about 20 participants today, so that keeps growing. That's great. Welcome you all, remote people. We're pleased today to welcome three presenters. Lisa Kahn. Lisa Kahn, so they know who you are. Coordinator of the Traffic Safety Programs here at the Minnesota Safety Council. Mike Hoopy, Senior Administrative Manager of Workplace Safety Division at the Hennepin County Facility Services. And Jensen, Manager of Loss Control at the Connexus Energy, is that correct? A certified safety professional. We look forward to Lisa, Michael, and Chuck's presentation, but first I'd like to take a moment for Katie's going to pass around microphones so you all can introduce yourself to the online people, and please just put the microphone right below your chin so they can hear you clearly. Introduce yourself and where you're from. Is that correct, Katie?
Yes. Organization, or your name, and then your organization if you're affiliated. We'll tag here. So I'm Karen Kirk. I'm with the Center for Transportation Studies at the University of Minnesota.
Anderson, South Central Southwest TZD Regional Coordinator, out of Minda, Mankato.
Coordinator, AARP Driver Safety.
Gail, Director of Public Affairs, AAA.
Minnesota Department of Public Safety, Office of Traffic Safety.
I've been the Metro Law Enforcement Liaison from the Office of Traffic Safety.
I'm Celine. I'm from East Metro State Patrol.
Chris in East Metro State Patrol.
MnDOT.
Derek, MnDOT.
Chelsea, Office of Traffic Safety.
Emergency Nurses Association.
East and West Central TZD.
North Memorial.
Metro North Memorial.
Husky, Northeast, Northwest Minnesota, or what am I? TZD Regional Coordinator.
And is the statewide TZD Coordinator.
Jessica, Southeast Regional TZD Coordinator.
David, Hennepin County.
From Ability for Minnesota's aging population.
From St. Paul Police Department.
Susan Young's TZD Regional Coordinator for the Metro.
Sit Chairman of the Memorial Foundation.
Monica Highway Federal Credit Union.
Joe, Office of Traffic Safety.
Where Office of Traffic Safety.
With this Bratler Group, which is a highway safety consultancy.
So, Department of Public Safety, Ignition Interlock. Our Department of Public Safety, Ignition Interlock.
I'd just like a reminder to our online audience to please type your questions in, and we will be going over those during the Q&A after the presentation. I'd also like to encourage everyone to interact with TZD on social media. Please follow Minnesota TZD on Twitter and like us on Facebook. Also, I want to remind everyone about our statewide conference that will be happening in St. Paul this year, October 26th, which is a Thursday, and Friday, October 27th. We will be at the St. Paul River Center. So please mark and hold that on your calendar, and we hope that all of you can attend. If you're interested in serving on the conference plan committee, we're always looking for new people and input. So you can email your name to Katie Kirk, and we would welcome you to join the planning committee. And with also a reminder, Katie recently sent out an email A call presentations for ideas for the conference is now open, and due date to submit these ideas online is Friday, February 3rd. Please visit the TZD website for more information. We also have all the 8 TZD regional workshops are scheduled. They will be held across the state, completed in April and May, so it's going to be a busy schedule for TZD this spring. The dates and locations are listed at the bottom of your agenda. Email will be sent out in the next few weeks announcing the registration, and information and more details again will be at the TZD website. Just an update this year on our fatalities. Well, some horrible weather. Unfortunately, we are coming in at 13 fatalities compared to 10 last year at this time. Our preliminary number for 2016 is holding steady at 398, but Little Bird told me in the office yesterday that it looks like we'll be able to take possibly 2 or 3 off a number, because as reports come in from the coroner's office, we do have some for natural causes and other reasons not related to traffic fatalities. So we're crossing our fingers we can stay at or below that 400 number. So we hope. And from the agency's communication staff, I don't see anyone here. If there's updates for communications. So with that, I think we're going to get right to the main theme here with Lisa, Michael, and Chuck.
Well, those of you online, my name is Lisa Kahns. I am a traffic safety program manager at the Minnesota Safety Council. I have been here for 24 years. You don't have to panic. I started when I was 12. And then I also coordinate the Network of Employers for Traffic Safety Grant, which is a funded program out of the Department of Public Safety. My goal with that project is to get as much traffic safety information into the hands of employers to keep their employees safe while on the road. And why, the big question is why? Why the workplace? We can stop now and I can say because, and then we can end this conversation. When in truth, the real reason is we talk about the E's and we do a really good job talking to each other about education, enforcement, ES, and and we do talk and we walk the walk well to each other, and we talk about that extra E, that everyone. And that's really where my role in the E's come in, because I have the opportunity to talk to the everyone. I get with the nitty-gritty. I talk to employers and I talk to their employees, and I talk to them about what can you do to help change our culture on the roads. Culture is a huge buzzword right now. We talk about how can we change our numbers? How can we get those numbers going down? What can we do? We're pounding our head against the wall. Our numbers continue to go up. What's the missing piece to the puzzle? Is the issue. We know this. We talk about it. We see it. We know that 80% of the crashes, 94% is our seatbelt rate. DWIs, we're riding out about 25,000. Those are going down. We have a lot to be proud of. But the other to that sword is we have this issue called drug driving that we're trying to wrap our arms around. What are we going to do about that issue now in addition to DWIs? I did this to my chart last night, and I share this with employers when I go in and talk to them about it. We have this issue, pedestrian fatalities, a huge issue right now in Minnesota. We're getting into the why, the how come, what's going on. It's drivers. When we're into employers and talk to employers about crosswalk fatalities, the issue right now that we're talking about is that right on green. At the green arrow, the ped gets stop sign. Are people looking down? Is the driver just waiting to turn green? The driver turns green, the ped crosses, nobody's watching, and we go into each other. But I had the right of way, I hear. It doesn't matter who has the right of way. If you are running into each other, you can be dead wrong being dead right. We have conversations with employers. Is it time to talk crosswalk safety within your organization? Is it time to implement a program or a policy? This why it is so important for employers. This issue right here. These issues are what employers need to be tackling. So then we go in and we talk about the facts. Here are the facts. In 2015, we had 411. Donna just shattered this slide and said, we're doing good. This is a good thing for me to go in. Because when I go in and talk to employers, I talk about how in 2014, we were in the 360s. In 2018, 411. In 2016, we're going up. what's going on. Our culture needs to change, and the change needs to start right here. No blame. He cut me off. She went too fast. He slowed down. He slammed on it. Blame is so comforting. I mean, have you ever been called into the boss's office, the three of you, and we need to get to the bottom of this right now. What is going on? Well, she did it. Yes, it's not my day-to-day. It was her. Isn't that comforting? That is so comforting. That's what it's out on our roads. It's always the other person's fault. Have you ever gone through a red light and that person spends 5 minutes justifying why it was right to go through red light? It was red. Red means stop. So we talk about with employers is, it's right here. You need to change your driving behavior and start taking it seriously. 65 means 65. It doesn't mean it's an option or a suggestion. It is the speed limit. You can slow down and prepare to stop. It doesn't mean speed up and then the next 3 cars comfortably go through the red. It no longer means go. It means proceed with caution each and every time. When you get to those green lights, give yourself 2 to 3 seconds because people are getting killed in intersection crossings. Educating employers and their employees to make good driving choices behind the wheel, and educating the masses to go home and share those ideas with their friends and families. It might be around the bench seminar. It might be something as simple as an e-blast. It might be something as simple as sharing current data with them. Here's what's going on. And you know what? Those numbers I just showed, those friends, your family, your community. You live, can you work without that person? Because you know what? You don't have to have that fleet of vehicles within your workplace. The most thing they're going to do is drive to and from work. Have a lot of windshield time like a lot of us do out in the field, that risk behind the wheel goes up of them getting in a crash, a serious crash, and or a fatality. Employers need to take that seriously, and they don't know what they don't know. You can't expect to just go knock on their door. Hi, Lisa, let's talk traffic crashes. Do you want to implement a traffic safety program? They're going to hear the word program and policy and shrivel down like a baby. It's more work. You have to be very cognizant of the approach and how you're going to approach them and then what you're going to do for them. A positive light, but tools ready, have the talk ready. What is it that you really want to approach them with? What is it that you really want for them to do? But more importantly, what's the takeaway? What's in it for them? These talk right here. These numbers talk. 40% of lost work hours are due to traffic-related injuries. That doesn't necessarily mean your employee. What if my most important asset, my most valuable asset, most dangerous thing and the most horrific thing, a lot of things happen in traffic safety. I've been in this industry for 24 years. My 16-year-old received driver's license last year on September 23rd. A lot of you have seen her. She wears a helmet, shoulder pads, and bubble wrap when she drives around. I'm kidding. That's how I wish I could send her out in the world because you know what? She's out there with all of you now. And I work with you. Post your driving behavior on every single day. Do you have your Do you get in your car every day and think, I'm going to drive safe from point A to point B? Or do you just get in your car, turn your car on, and think, I'm going to go from point A to point B? These are that employees need to tell their employees. Bring it back up to this conscious. If Olivia crashes today and ends up in ICU for the next 6 weeks, I'll be here. And I don't even take the time to call my employer and tell him where I am until I know she's going to make it. That affects my employer hands down. Because if someone else has to do my job, and someone else, and it might take 3 or 4, and this month my job will get done. That's bottom line of every employer. And I'm going to crash about 29,000, more 25,000 if it includes that injury, to take upwards of $1 million. If you have a severe brain injury today, your livelihood is taken away from you today. How's it going to cost? Maybe 10 times that amount? Who's going to pay for that? Employees don't think of traffic crashes this way. And loss and risk control and see the day-to-day bookkeeping on a regular basis. Just don't think of it, the ROI and what it's going to take to make back that crash. $1 billion annually are spent by employers in traffic crashes. If they knew the facts and the data and how little amount of energy truly went in to saving a life and what the ROI would be, they turn around. They think twice about implementing program and policy. Loud activity, absenteeism, insurance costs, workers' compensation, and property damage. So why I like to call it program versus policy. The biggest reason is because when you say the word policy, there's a negative connotation. A defense flag goes up because employers really struggle with implementing a policy, as do I. If employers implement a policy, have somebody sign it. If you're going to implement a policy, have your employees sign it, put it in a book, file it away, and never revisit that policy, it's really not going to do you any good. You're not going to do recurrent training and reinforce that message on a regular basis. Are you doing your employees any justice? So why have a program? A program is something you want to send out an e-blast, do some recurring education, update on data, let your employees know what's going on. Hey, there were some bicycle lanes put in our area recently. Do you know that when a bicycle lane is put in, you can go in that bicycle lane to make that right turn lane? You don't have to cut those people off and go around it to make that right turn. Educate them about that bicycle lane. Educate them about pedestrian safety. Educate them about roundabouts. About what's going on in your area. To save lives, importantly, to protect your most valuable asset, your employee. Pay them to come to work. The have is the icing on the cake. That's just free. Offer tools readily available. You're going to approach an employer, have ideas of what you're going to provide to them. Hey, we have some e-blasts that you can just send out on a Friday with some horrific weather coming up. Some information, have some templates readily available for that organization, have some e-blasts ready, send out email in the middle of the day. You know what? It's going to be slippery. Send out some information. Have turnkey templates and information readily available for employers. Makes it very sexy for them to want to be involved in traffic safety. If you make it seem like a lot of work, it looks like another job for them, and they already feel like they are short on time and short on staff. It doesn't look like too much work. If you give them opportunities to partner, let them know the coalitions that are readily available, traffic programming, and all the options that are really available for them to join on, then it tends to be easier for employers to want to be involved. Think outside, but reinvent the wheel. Because already a ton of information readily available. There's some great resources. The Network of Employers for Traffic Safety just recreated a program, and I'll give you the link here, with some great data. Be very careful with data. We love data because it solidifies what we do. But when you go into an employer and start data dumping, they get cross-eyed. You can put it in a very nice infographic to state the case that makes sense and gives a very good story to your employer as to why they need to belong in traffic safety. That's to them. Minnesota Nets can help in a number of ways. We have free resources to help you go into an employer. I have a number of different presentation webinars that you can send out. You can help create things and PowerPoint. New sheets. We have vision goggles that you can utilize. PowerPoint presentations, gaming tools, Spanish materials. So please feel free to utilize those materials. One, it's very, very important. Again, when you go into businesses, is let them know that walking the walk and talk and role modeling is essential with behavior, not just traffic safety, from the top down. So all day at work, like we are too, we have to remember we're in traffic safety. It's our traffic safety behind the wheel when we take our hat off and home at the end of the day driving. We have teenage drivers that are watching us drive on a regular basis. Grandchildren, teens, are that person that walks up to our kid after we've been driving all these years, I don't ever want to see you on your phone, and I don't ever want to see you run a red light, and I don't ever want to see you speed, and I don't. And they walks into their room, and they think, oh my gosh, you were on that phone every single solitary day when you picked me up from daycare. It was catch-up time with Grandma. And I can do this like Quick Draw McGraw. And he gets us to the 11:80 on Fridays. The words that come out of that man's mouth, he gets cut off. They think about every single person that they've ridden with. Older kids when they're to drive. When they're turned down in the back seat of a car, and they watch everything you do, and they listen to everything you say for 14 years, and they go to driver's ed. Time to be good role models. Businesses have time to be good role models by implementing traffic safety policies. A good role model is something because they think about those valuable assets they've rode with. You're telling them, don't do these things. It's safe. And they're thinking, okay, if it means getting my license, man, I'm not going to do it. I'd like for you to put your fingers together like this real quick. Roll together. Go ahead and throw them on your chin. What I did instead of what I said. Rolling. People do what you do long before you do what they say. You consistently portray that message. That's why it's important to be good models when we drive regularly with people in our car, for businesses to implement strong traffic safety programming and continually relay messages that prove we mean business from top down. We are investing in our most valuable asset. We want you to drive to and safe from work daily, 24/7. Because if you crash on Thursday at 7, that will affect us. We want you to come back to work every day, and we want you to go home and spend time with your loved ones. All my sources right here, and this will be available online. So you have to write this down because you can get the PowerPoint online. I'm going to turn it over to two businesses here who have done excellent work implementing traffic safety into their workplace, changing their culture, which has a domino effect for employee on their community and on our roads in Minnesota, making it a safer place for all of us to drive. Next is Michael Tupi with Hennepin County.
Had asked me to come and talk about what we're doing in Hennepin County. I'm the safety manager for Hennepin County, so I focus primarily on employee safety issues. And when I was getting my master's back at UMD in industrial safety, I never thought that traffic or driver safety programs would be something that I'd be focusing so much of my time and energy on. But statistics and the information is there. For Hennepin County, we have a number of employees that are involved in crashes. I was surprised when we looked at and did our own assessment of how many people are out driving, not only in Hennepin County, outside of Hennepin County, visiting clients in Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin. So it really raised opened my eyes to what was going on within Hennepin County. Why the focused effort with Hennepin County? About a year and a half ago, we started looking at some information. I'll go through that in just a minute. But we really had a number of different issues around employee driving, getting into motor vehicle accidents, also some property damage, where we had individuals that had broken mailboxes, done a variety of different things. We also had county personnel driving their own vehicles, and they were involved in some really serious motor vehicle accidents. Therefore, had a lot of lost time away from work. As he said, mentioned, it's away from work, so then you have to replace that individual with somebody else to pick up those duties and those activities, and it's very expensive for an employer. There's a certain amount of uncertainty about who was our high-risk groups. Obvious ones that come to mind would be law enforcement with their office, and then also our public works operations with our plow drivers that are out every in the field. But there were some surprises that we found as we went through and looked at our information. Things like social workers being out in the community every single day, and there's literally hundreds of them out in the community every day. So there was some concerns raised with that we had to identify some of our high-risk areas. County administration became aware of some of the issues based on some recent settlements that we had where we had paid out fairly significant amounts of money based on different crashes and issues that we had. drivers, we have county fleet drivers, and we also have personal vehicle drivers. Our county fleet, as you could imagine, is managed by a central mobile equipment division. They handle all the maintenance and activities related to our county fleet. They also procure and get vehicles that we need. And some of those areas, as you look at the screen, public works, obviously that's a large part of our county fleet. We have law enforcement with our sheriff's office. We have some unique transporting vehicles where we have sentencing to service crew leaders that are out bringing juveniles and adults to do community service with trailers on roadsides in the community doing different community service activities. I also have county pool cars that are assigned by department. Those departments have a need for a county car, and staff are free to check those out based on how the department wants that handled. I also have some surplus vehicles that are available in a few of our buildings. That if you needed a county car, you could go check out that car, do what you need to do across the county, and then bring that vehicle back. And mentioned here at the bottom, we have personal vehicles, and they come in all shapes and sizes and all states of repair. So they're out there in the community, and you know, staff are out driving their personal vehicles on county business. A little bit for the county fleet, if you want to use a county vehicle, we have a permitting program. We require to go through an 8-hour defensive driver training program and a 4-hour follow-up training 6 years after their original date. So things that we also do is we have additional training requirements for staff that are more professional drivers, like plow operators. Law enforcement staff have additional training requirements that go with that. As part of the training program, we cover the county policies that we have that relate to you using that vehicle. It's really important we identify what do we do if I've been involved in a motor vehicle accident, how do I report that information, where I go to gas up the vehicle. There's a whole variety of things that go with that program. For personal vehicles, we have a program that's an automobile required status program. If you're required as part of your job to use your personal vehicle, there's an agreement that you have to sign off on in order to use that vehicle for county purposes. And we have mileage reimbursement policies like many of you do as well. So a year and a half ago, when we were looking at our information and what was happening to Hennepin County, is we looked at how many million miles are driven. You know, what is our exposure? What's our potential across the different things that we do for Hennepin County? We looked at the county fleet, and we had 5.2 million miles being driven by our county fleet. An additional 2 million miles being driven by personal vehicles. And an interesting part of it is not everybody was submitting mileage reimbursement, and I couldn't figure out why you wouldn't submit mileage reimbursement. But so this only captures the amount that was actually paid out by the county for mileage reimbursement. Total, it was over 7 million miles being driven by our fleet and employees across Hennepin County and elsewhere. You know what miles mean? I tried to explain that to our leadership. And, you know, if you take the United States from coast to coast, it's 2,800 miles across the United States. That means that we are driving 2,500 trips a year in Hennepin County. You know, that is a lot of alarm bells with leadership of, you know, that is a significant exposure that we're going on across the county. Really bad cold, so I got to get some water. Unless you can give a presentation with a severe cold, right? Statistics and information I wanted to share. We were actually pleasantly surprised by the limited number of motor vehicle accidents that we had, especially to our county fleet. One of the areas of concern was the severe injuries related to motor vehicle accidents for personal vehicle use. You know, with the employees being out of work for an extended period of time, the overall costs, the work comp costs that are associated with that as well, it was a much higher burden for the county when you look at the cost perspective. We looked at the injury information related to motor vehicle accidents, one thing came out that wasn't into it at the time. One of pedestrian vehicle incidents that we're having in downtown Minneapolis. As you can imagine, the Minneapolis area downtown has been under construction, every aspect of it. And there's a lot of issues associated with our pedestrian staff just getting to and from our campus buildings downtown. We've had multiple issues with individuals being struck in crosswalks. We actually had a county employee strike other county employees that were walking across the crosswalk, if you can believe it. We've had a number of issues with that, and Lisa highlighted some of that to begin with, but something that we're going to focus more attention on in the future as well. So we had data, we had this information, we had an idea what we wanted to do, and the next obviously was for us to conduct our own internal assessment. The one thing that we try to do is get everyone involved, all of the different department areas, and we did by conducting interviews of them. We had completed where we asked some questions about who is transporting clients, how often do your vehicles get checked out, what's the process for checking out your vehicles. There was a variety of things that went into that interview, and really they allowed them the opportunity to bring forward any policies or procedures that they had that went above the county umbrella policies. Identified obviously is a number of good things that are going on, and there were some areas of concern as we did the assessment. Some of it for us were really around how active we were with transporting clients in the community and about the state of Minnesota for that matter. I'll cover that in just a second, but we had bits and pieces of information spread all over the place. Hennepin County is really decentralized when you look at departments do a lot of things on their own. You know, I'm a safety manager. I represent one area of the county. There's also risk management, financial group. There's a whole variety of different pieces that go into that. And what we're trying to do now is pull different pieces together and make sure that we're all talking the same language and we're all using the same information to communicate that to the county. Our important finding was, you know, as soon as, but it was nice to hear it, that there was all kinds of tactical or professional driver training going on with our plow operators, heavy equipment, squad cars. There's a variety of things going on with that as well. As the important things that we identified was that there were a lot of people transporting clients. And this is just a graphic or an image showing human services, which is our largest departments. And you can see here, Child Protective Services had 170 people respond saying that they transport clients throughout the community. Those transported often were 500 employees, which was more than one time a week. They're transporting clients in the community. And so it was less than one time a week, which was 50. It was really interesting to hear some of the different stories from staff. And if there's anything that I could give back to management, it would be, you know, really trying to understand the amount of exposure that staff have in the field. And it's really something that we need to look forward addressing. Our policies were old. We needed to update many of our policies, so I'm going to focus on that in the future as well. Again, so personal vehicle accidents, needing to ensure that they were reported. As we did the assessment, we understood that there is probably underreporting going on. If you're using your own personal insurance, what incentive is there to report to your employer? If I get in a little fender bender, if something minor happens, you know, ideal safety manager, we'd like to know that everything is being reported, but I also understand the employee side of it. If I report it, you know, what's going to happen? Is there consequences? A variety of things that go into that as well. So one thing I wanted to share is what we're doing about it now. We identified some of these high-risk areas and some of the areas of concern. In order to get everyone included and get everybody involved, we've created separate teams that will address specific goals that have been identified. So for policy review team, they go through all of our policies, review them, make updates, make them more current. And also culturally, we're going to have to adapt to some of the changes that come with that. We have a team that's going to look at all the different resources that are out there How do we take some of the good things that other employers are doing or other sources that are available and make that happen within Hennepin County? Incident review team, we have a 5,000 plus mile team. The that is we have drivers that are out all county and elsewhere, and they're going up 5,000 miles up to 15,000 miles of reimbursement per year. And they are high-risk drivers that we need to get a handle on and make sure that we get them in as part of county permit program or other training opportunities for them. One other personally, we can identify resources as far as an FTE that come in and pull together all the different components that are going on within Hennepin County. Look at hiring somebody that's a traffic driver, safety coordinator for all of Hennepin County. The meaningful impact for our organization. Another key step for us is readily is available is the data and information that you have. Does it take it a month and a half to figure out the mileage reimbursement statistics are? Does it take a long time to get that information? So we would look at like a software program or something that we could utilize that would better pull that information together. Another key thing on that Lisa had also spoke about is a safety eflyer campaign. And what we from Hennepin County employees is what they find most meaningful is learning from their peers. There's a road rage aggressive driver safety eflyer that was put together with the Sheriff's Office and the work group. That was a direct result of somebody having a situation happen on 394 where they were being chased down. They had a Hennepin County vehicle that had a clear blue H on it. They happened to pull off on one of the roads, get to a public area, call 911, and there were a variety of things that went into that. But these relate to their fellow employees, and it was a great opportunity for us to use a safety eflyer and communicate that out to the county. Possible, we also try and use resources from NETS, some of the different Drive to Work Week, variety of the different programs that are out there as well. I'm probably obvious to everyone here, but one of the things that we really started doing was talking about this issue. It doesn't do any good to just put the statistics in the background, not talk about the issues, and really focus on our data helping us to drive decision making within Hennepin County. Most important step we did is we did our own assessment. Looked at what was happening within Hennepin County. Who drives most? What's their driving record? What's their NVR background policy? Do we know that they've been checked? Finally, we asked for help. We asked the Minnesota City Council for help. Also asked insurance agencies for help. There are a ton of resources out there to help employers. You just have to be willing to ask and make those professional connections with different individuals. Finally, like I mentioned when I started, I never thought that I would be doing traffic safety. I'm very fortunate to be doing it for Hennepin County. Originally started it was occupational safety, industrial hygiene, OSHA-related matters, and I'm fortunate to help make an impact in Hennepin County through the driver safety program. So thank you.
All right. We'll turn it over now to Chuck Jensen with acknowledgement.
So okay, all right. Put things in terms that people can relate to. So I kind of draw a corollary between traffic and waste and tides. Those of you out there every day, if the surf's up, it's going to be a long commute. It's going to be a difficult commute. If the surf's down, it's probably going to be a little simpler, right? So I'm going to put things in a term that relate to that. About this in terms of a problem, you try and state the problem. And I'm going to kind of refer back to my notes here. If you think about the problem we have on the roadways, it's more than just one single thing, right? You talk about in a phone, in any terms, that's an addiction. So a full dose of dopamine every time I respond to somebody's text or like on Facebook or upload my face on Snapchat, get this little dose of dopamine, right? So we've got an addiction problem, a culture problem. Courtesy seems to be something we've forgotten on the roadway. And in the simplest terms, driving in traffic it's a social interaction. Because if you yield the right of way to somebody that needs it, potentially in an accident. Do you care? Well, that's the problem. Enough people care. We also have a self-preservation problem. You talk about pedestrian accidents. I'm not engaged in my own self-preservation if I'm staring down at that phone when I'm walking across the intersection. I'm not interested in my own self-preservation if I'm thinking, well, if a guy runs into me, my lawyer's going to take him to the bank. You're still going to be dead or broken. So when you take all those things and put them together, this is not a simple problem at all. So to me, this wave looks like a tsunami. I mean, it's a huge wave. It's something that's going to take a lot of effort and a lot of people working on, even within your own company, let alone on a statewide level, to fix it. So is that tide to go in the right direction? I think it has to start with everybody. Everybody in this room needs to have at least one person or two people that they do at work, or personally, to make a difference. Because the more people we reach with the message, the more people actually consider it. Seeing that tide in the right direction. Well, if you're talking about it, if you're bringing it down to a that they can relate to, that'll help or that happen. Crescent trusts, we'll talk about that a little bit. What do those look like? About you, but if I'm on Mille Lacs, I'd rather be on the crest, when those 6-foot waves out there than down in the trough, because a lot of good things up here, I can see the rest of the lake. If I get in that trough, that wave may just crash right in the boat. There's some road waves, even with a refined program, and I worked for Cargill for many years. It's kind of where I learned safety and where we first started talking about this problem, 14, 15 years ago. The problem is that human nature is what it is, and you're going to have people that check out. Even the best meaning people are going to have lapses. How do we funnel this tide and use its energy? Well, we'll get into that too. So, my journey on this subject. So, I have a background. Luckily, I spent some time in the military, so I got to see the best side of human nature. All cops get to see the best side of human nature. And I worked for Cargill as a plant operations manager. They did pay well, but when it came to safety, they brought it down to the level of operations. I didn't have that struggle. Somebody got hurt in my plant. My first job interview was with my general manager. The second one was with the area supervisor, and lastly, third interview to keep the job because of that accident was with the press company. So it was clear that safety was everybody's responsibility, and as the leader of safety, I was accountable for it all. So taking that to a next level with Connect was simple because I kind of understood that linkage. But Cargill dealt with problem, I think 15 years ago. In my vision, a young father was killed because he was talking to a customer on his phone, reached down for a document. When he looked up, it was that stop semi, and his neck didn't agree, and he basically lost his head. And, the company just kind of sat down and said, that kind of thing is not an acceptable outcome. What do we do to see this never happens again? So a bunch of us operation guys together and said, look, we need to see this happen again. Just tell us how we can do that. We got, and within, I would say, 6 months, they had a policy that basically said you cannot operate that vehicle with your cell phone driving. This is 14, 15 years ago. So talk about responsiveness. That was a worldwide policy policy within 6 months of that happening. Now, I would prefer that most people don't experiencing that in their own organization before they make that happen. But a lot of times it takes an outcome like that to get people's attention. So essentially, the loss of that young father, and that's the way that culture change happened so quickly in that company. And one of the division president used to say was, you have to make safety personal. You have to feel it. It has to be an emotional reaction. Otherwise, it just doesn't stick. It's something that happens to somebody else. And in our world of social media and video and everything else, you're watching it happen to somebody else, but you really aren't experiencing it personally. That's how you make it a value. Not a priority of value. Value is something that you compromise. So when we talk about safety on the road, we talk about it being a priority. We're talking about being a value. All the priorities follow it. So in order to break this tsunami, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to, just don't have to watch it. Wrong. Someone has to really care. So some organization has to really care, has to feel this, has to experience it, and not going to let it go because the CEO doesn't want to hear it or the CFO doesn't want to create money. Because otherwise it just gets stopped and it just really gets any legs. So choice between picking which way to get on with your surfboard, one is going to carry you the furthest toward shore. Got to kind of do that evaluation, and that's one of the things that I had to do to get to our policy. Now, Lisa will tell you that in the years time we started working on this to the time, I don't know, 6 months ago, where our leadership team basically said, okay, we're done with cell phones in the vehicle, which to me, that's kind of that moment where you arrive. You actually put in practice that your employee safety is more important than getting somebody's power on 2 minutes faster. Picking those ways, which one to get on, which one is going to get you to shore. I'm just basically talking about what resonates with your leadership team. Is it safety? Is it efficiency? One of those ways will take you closer to shore than the other. So knowing people that you're working with on this will help you get that closer. Expect a rational response. So AAA, and they basically said, hey, how many of you drivers think that self-danger is out there? Oh, holy moly, 70, 75% said yeah. The only is, I think it was 45, 50% of those said we do it anyway. Okay, that's rational. So the idea is well, I don't want to idea twice, but anyway, the idea is anyone ever seen the movie Inception? So if you have, you remember one of the main themes was he planted an idea in his wife's mind that grew to a reality eventually. And it starts there. You need to plant that idea that's going to grow far enough to actually get in action. And what that idea is, that has to come from that, okay, where am I gonna invest my time and effort to get to the shore? And a really big wall to break the waves. So, but you have to be patient building that wall. It's kind of a brick by brick process. We're not going to speed. We're not going to allow, racing vehicles, because what's the purpose of a radar detector? It's so Minnesota stops you and they see the radar detector, they say, hey, you're getting a ticket. Okay. You are voluntarily trying to break the law here. Start with the simple bricks, and you can build from there. You got to fight and win the small battles before you can win the war. So that just kind of summarizes that idea. Yep. So the troughs, the thing here, and the things probably everybody in this room has heard. My is we're too important. I'm a customer of my own utility. Would send risking your life to get power on 2 minutes faster, 5 minutes. Oh wait, I can deal with that. I think most of our customers would say that, but a lot of times we get caught up in our own self-importance. Say, oh, we got to get the power back on faster. So you potentially hear that. This is probably the worst possible thing, is because basically, well, it's never happened here. Well, graveyard, and positive you can find somebody that happened to. So that argument that it hasn't happened here, well, nothing has happened here yet. If you talk about the frequency and you talk about the severity, those familiar with risk matrices puts that up in that I have to do something corner, and it's a matter of time. Different, or we're different. So 3% of the world's population can multitask. Like 20, the people companies think that they're part of the 3%, which is statistically impossible, right? But a little bit of psychology and how mind task, not multitask. Truly, then they can. Okay, I get the idea. So really, as human beings, we have certain limitations. We're not all that different. I'll heard productivity much. That's an easy one to respond to. There's a lot of companies that have done implemented it and said, hey, you know what? We saw that productivity rose in some cases and really kind of stayed the same in others. We just had to get used to the change and doing things differently. I can't that example. CFOs are great for this. I got to be on my phone all the time. Then they want to tell you about that guy that cut them off. It's like, well, do you remember what happened before that? Were you on the phone? Yeah. Need you because, to what Lee said, people notice you roll yourself in the parking lot talking on your cell phone in the morning. You can't expect them to follow that policy that you set. And like, it's my vehicle, it's my personal space, it's my office. No, it's one of many that has to interact favorably in order for you to get where you're going with an accident. Not your personal space. That is public space, because you're operating on a public roadway, and too many people think that what happens in their vehicle is just their business, and it's not. So these are the ones you feel good about, so you get acknowledgement. First thing is getting that acknowledgement. You know, I'm pleased to hear that Bill's got that. You know, we know we have an issue, because that's the first step, right? Getting that discussion going and doing that education to where people are open to learn. In today's world, how to learn a 5-second video or a 5 post on Facebook. That's how you got to get the message across. Where you actually get to a discussion, you can talk about education, right? And then actually have some activities where people learn those things that are readily available. People just don't take the time to know about or learn about. Change of policy, where you can actually put in it and say, hey, look, you know, this way or losing a limb is not an acceptable outcome, so we're not going to allow it. And then you choose your practices, and then you get that culture change when people start following it. So waves, if you tolerate poor behavior, people are going to say it's okay to get away with it. If you don't continuously remind, to kind of, you send too much information or remind too often, and pretty soon turns people off. You got to kind of know what it is, and that's different in different organizations, right? Got to educate. Every one of our employees gets DDC-4 within this month, and then they go to advanced drivers training behind the wheel in St. Cloud within a year and a half. So may understand the behavior part before we give them the skills to go out there and really tear things up. Has kind of been our success. So accept that a debt is acceptable. If you basically excuse, yeah, well, you know, argues our utility and, you know, power back on. Well, so wait for somebody to die so that somebody gets their power back on. No, I don't really buy that, and eventually other people don't. So, and you employ human beings. So how many people have been let down by somebody? Oh, and because we're humans and we're going to make mistakes, so, you know, happen. Even in the best set policy, procedures, cultures, philosophies. It can happen because human beings. My daughter's sick today. Where's my? That's where it's not on driving. Energy here. A ripple in Japan can become a tidal wave in Hawaii. So you get the message started. That's kind of the key. It doesn't matter where you do it. Wave to impact. Where do you want that wave to hit the shore? Find a tireless champion that's in the right place. You need somebody that can stand up in the biggest wave and not get washed back onto the beach or choking on the water that went down their throat. Somebody that can do that. So if you're not in that position, you need somebody up the chain that is, and convince them. That's putting it in its simplest form. But you can project that to a level that's going to make difference. Find a story. So I think any of you were at the Towards Your Desk conference last year. You saw the story that Department of Public Safety put up there. That kind of thing that will get that visceral message across. And if there's one in your company that'll work, if not, find something that's similar enough that you can share it with people and they'll get it. Make it a weekly activity. Stand on the beach used to be a mountain, right? I mean, I'm talking billions of years potentially, but again, something that is going to take the time that it takes. But if you give up, you'll never get there. People do. It's kind of a matter of showing all in the right battles and building that a brick at a time. So, any questions I didn't cover? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Well, I do want to open it up for a question and answer. Do we have any in the audience that have any? Katie's walking around with a microphone. There, we always have Peter.
I'm Peter Cook with MnDOT. I'm wondering if your company has instituted any sort of monitoring so that employees you helped you had your own set of checks and balances within your organization and what those might have been.
I can speak for us. We do two things. One, if you're a driver, driving is your job description, you're on a Fleet Watch program. So we at least every 6 months going to get to see what your motor vehicle record looks like. And if issue, I'm not talking about one sign situation, but the kinds of things that employees may not self-report if there's a or a severe, and we're gonna have that conversation. Next year, or I should say in 2017, we're instituting a tax program into the vehicles that'll give us a driver scorecard that talks about hard braking, acceleration, kinds of things that look good to you if you saw them do that on the roadway. So.
To connects us with Chuck, we have every 6 months with motor vehicle record checks being done, and then for other drivers, it's an annual review. We don't currently have telematics, but it'd be something that we'd be looking for as some of the team issues that I mentioned. So,
Katie, thank you.
I'm Johnny with ARP Driver Safety. And not a question, it's a comment. Both you safety people, you heard accident. We're going to have a much bigger impression if we use the word crash, because that's what it is.
I think training and background. As safety people, we say accident. But
yeah, that's a double-edged sword because when you're having a discussion with someone, you want them to be open to what you're having to say. I don't think anyone intentionally runs into somebody else. If that's the case, then we call those guys and get them involved. So I'm kind of in your camp. I like the term incident or something that's more pointed, but I'll get the conversation started with that person on the other side of the. I get to accusing. So thank you.
was going to come up. That's a big trigger in the traffic safety with our stakeholders, and it's a change of the culture that we talk about. That an accident. What did I hear? I just heard an accident is maybe a 2-year-old, having an accident, and not making it to the potty, and that's a traffic crash in the world really is not an accident. So it's something that we'll continue to have. Are there any questions coming online?
No questions or comments online yet. I've been monitoring and nothing yet. But if you're joining online, please do enter your comment or question at this time.
What I would like to add is, as I heard Michael and Chuck review, is timelines they used when implementing culture and changing culture within the workplace. 1.5 said many years. I know that it took the city of Minneapolis 5 years to implement a distracted driving policy. Please, if you are working with employers, know that this does not happen overnight. It's tough sell. It's an uphill battle. And if they say, no, I don't want to implement a traffic safety policy, then talk an educational program. Start with perhaps a 1-hour seminar or those email blasts. If they say no, offer something else. Because it's a tough sell, go back and continue to approach them with different options. Partnering with a mobilization takes a long time to implement and to change culture within an organization. If they say no, it doesn't mean to give up. Go to the next employer or a different person within your community, because this is a perfect example of the frame you're looking at to implement and change culture within an organization.
Thanks, brother. And first, I want to thank the presenters, because I think that, as Lisa just said, this is a long haul, and commitment to it is truly important. I also want to say to everyone else in the room that I think those of you who are working in communities or other programs have great opportunities to work with employers, and speak to that because of personal experience over the last several months. I kind of had an intended experiment, if you will, in that I decided to get my real estate license. And through and we know realtors sell and are on the road and are driving everywhere all the time. And I went through all the training, and I went through all the onboarding with a major realtor company and started working in that, and have been shocked by the absolute lack of any mention of driving safety. And it turned out just in the last year, there was an incident where an individual who works for the multiple listing service that covers this area, who was killed in a crash, distracted driver, and all of a sudden, and getting religion by at least their co-workers and try to get that word out. But point being is, anything happens, it's not real. Lots of opportunities to look for those tragedies and help employers realize the impact they can have on the lives of their employees. And so that end, thank you. It's a very ripe place for people to talk about this. And I don't think it's always something that the safety community or the transportation world thinks about, because we talk to ourselves a lot. And we don't realize just how lit this is on people's radar screen until it happens to them.
Online or a form of the presenters here. I'll just go ahead and read it. Just to know, where can I get copies of the e-flyers that you presented?
Send me an email. I will just forward it on to them. So I think my information's in the PowerPoint slides. So you just want to send an email. I'll make sure that they get copies of it.
Okay, looks like Lisa's that up here. Okay, so that's online there. Okay, there's Michael's email address, michael.tupy, T-U-P-Y. Okay.
I have a number of them, so if they're in the area like winter hazard thing or area, they can specify that, and I'll make sure they get a copy of it.
Okay. We do have another one that came in that says, at MnDOT, we're required to take an e-learning defensive driving course. Does Hennepin County do this? And assuming the brochures, etc., go above and beyond?
Up in county, we have a classroom training, like many employees would do for defensive driver. And we have an online 4-hour refresher training, and we have an online personal vehicle driver training program as well. So we have 3 different components there, 2 of which are online. And all of the brochures and information, the education campaign, that's above and beyond what's covered in that training.
Great. Another question, will PowerPoints be available after the training? And yes, so anybody can access the PowerPoints. They'll be PDF'd and put on the TZ website. So please look for those within the next couple of days. And so the PowerPoint recording of this session. Other
Questions? Karen, you just put it so well, that it just came personal to me. I have a close relative who's a realtor, but it really can be, any job. And they're sales. That's how they make their money. And feeling you have to be available 24/7. Really busy right now with the legislature. They say you have to be available. Am I to risk my life and have my cell phone on if my commission needs to talk to me, or can it wait 10 minutes? That's a personal choice that I have to make. And my family keeps calling me Ms. Traffic Safety because I'm constantly with that particular relative, or they're thinking, I'm constantly, just bringing that up, and I think they think I'm a bit of a, but I think that's what each and every one of us has to do. And then we talk about, work safety. We have a lot of work to do in the state itself, even within the Department of Public Safety. About this 8-hour defensive driving course, is it a 30-minute? That MnDOT did, and we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of people that are driving for work, and as you say, they're our most valuable asset. So I just think this has just been a great presentation. So please join me in thanking the presenters. A lot of good information. Also, I want to remind you that we have the evaluation forum. We're always looking for new ideas for presenters. We are only down to 2 stakeholder breakfasts now because we have the conference in the fall and the workshops in the spring. So our next stakeholder breakfast will be, I think, going to be here on July 12th. So we look forward to that. And is there any other updates from the audience? Anything that anyone wants to share? BJ?
This informational talked about, people don't realize it when it's to you unless it touches you. I'm a person, I never thought about losing a child to a distracted driver. So I've written a book, done that book, Lisa in that book, and many of you are in that book and read that book. It is for the asking. Please, employees, if you are interested in getting that book, I'll be very happy to send it over to you. That book I have written for community. It is not to money, but just to spread the message. It is very, very data-driven. A lot of the information created by this group is included in there. Our own Senator Klobuchar wrote the foreword for it. So please, BJ it.
Thank you, Jay. Well, I think that concludes. Oh, if any of you are, where is the program?
Our meeting will be upstairs. You don't have to worry about bringing your own chair. I have staff coming downstairs, so they're going to be directing traffic upstairs into another room that is sizely enough. Staff's going to make a curl bring the chairs up for you while we go upstairs, so don't worry about your chair.
Thank you.
You got a card on?